Welcome to the Comic Binge. I am your host, Paul Herman. If you haven't already, please like the video. I hate saying this stuff, but I got to do it, people. I have to. I'm obligated. But please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because I love you. You want to love me. And it's all in a free world of aliens and comic books, and we're all just doing our thing. But anyway, I'm joined today by Adam. Adam, Ridgetop, what's going on?
Hello, everyone.
Hello. And today we have the ending of it's kind of an ending to a couple things, I guess, because I guess we got the ending of this arc, and it's kind of like a regular pod. You're a little busy right now, and you're gonna be taking, doing your thing and coming on a little less frequently. But we're gonna be doing every issue reviews, and he'll come back for sure, at least for the last issue of the arc. We kind of have a little ending of our issue by issue breakdown, which has been a lot of fun. It's been awesome having you on doing this. I've got a lot of great responses from everyone. Thank you for everyone who has. And
yeah, thanks. And it's been good to guest on here and get it from a perspective of a longtime Marvel fan with someone like me who has more of a history with Dark Horse. And so I do feel like it's been great just discussing this with you from our two kind of different historical comic perspectives.
Yes, very, very different, but none better than the other, because again, like you said before that we were recorded, like it's all about gatekeeping. It's about, everyone enjoys things, everyone's opinion is valid, and it's just everyone might like something better more than others, and that's fine. And this series might be one of those things where one person likes it more than the other person. And so kind of get into it again, as typical fashion for the Comic Binge. I try to keep these things pretty spoiler free because I want people to go buy the comic and read it, even despite the fact that Adam doesn't like the series. But this
we
regardless,
need to get into a few spoilers.
We always spoil a little bit. We have to. I mean, I can't just do. I mean, there is one minor spoiler I will be doing, and I'm mostly curious what you think about something. But anyway. This is issue 6 of the Philip Kennedy Johnson and Salvador LaRocca issues. Wait, that's my logo. Sorry. I thought I got the issue. One second here, people. Hold on. Here we go. Issue 7 or 6, excuse me, of the Alien comic book. And I love the Alpha Alien, Adam. I know you were into the design as well. Am I incorrect?
The design was pretty cool. Again, in Hayek Lee did this cover art here, and I've enjoyed all their covers. The astronaut suit looks a little odd here because it looks a little different than the comic. It just kind of looks like your basic kind of cosmonaut type suit. Sure. But as far as the composition, as far as how the alien looks here, and as far as a solid comic cover, I mean, it's a good cover.
Yeah.
But you like the comic. I know you like the comic. So why don't I let you take it away and tell me how this first Alien Marvel arc, which is actually going to be collected into a graphic novel mid-October called Bloodlines, if you want to read it in paperback. Give me your thoughts for you as a longtime Marvel fan. And this is your first Marvel Alien comic.
Yes.
What did you overall think of this issue and the comic in its entirety?
I personally thought this was a pretty solid series. I don't think it was perfect by any means, but I really liked it. For this comic in particular, I thought it was a good ending, to be honest. I really liked the ending. I thought there's a big reveal that I'm not going to say what it is. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about, that I was not expecting. I thought it was a great reveal. And I love the ideas that I think to me, again, and I'm a theme person. I love themes, and the alien theme of what makes us human, what drives us in humanity, what makes a monster. All those themes were heavily, or not even heavily. I think they were done very well, and not completely heavy-handed, but I think in the same vein as what the previous, I think, films and at least for the films, I haven't read the novels, obviously, but some of the other comics as well, they really touched on in alien comic books and in mythology. I love all those things, and I think Philip Kennedy Johnson has done a great job, in my opinion, of bringing those themes out, and I think in doing it in a way that's very entertaining. I love the Alpha Alien reveal. There's another, again, we'll get into another spot here in a second, but I liked Gabriel as a character. I liked what his arc in the story. Again, no spoilers, but his arc and where the future could go, where it could go, and the fact that also that you had a great through line with Bishop as far as connecting with the rest of the world and everything. I don't know. I just thought it was solid. Again, it wasn't perfect. I just thought it was good. I know a lot of people would complain about the art, and I guess the art wasn't always perfect for some people. I didn't have the problems with it as others. I know he swiped things, and again, I don't play video games, so I didn't know they swipe things, and sure, that's not great. And swiping in comic books is not exactly uncommon in sense of like quick designs because you've got a monthly schedule.
That's true. And I do feel like there's a gradient of offense with that for sure. But I don't think it should ever be excused. I mean, I do kind of not, I don't always put it entirely on the artist because there's deadlines, but then again, those deadlines are universal regardless of which artist is working on it. And some artists don't do that. Some artists do it a little bit where it's a bit more excusable. And some artists like Greg Land do it very, very blatantly. So I think it just kind of depends on a number of factors there.
Agreed. So for the most part, I think if you're a casual Alien fan, I think you'll like the series. In my opinion. And again, I've been talking to you. And from hearing other hardcore Alien fans, I don't think that's the case for a lot of other people.
No,
but
I will say, just looking at our forum, looking at the responses to this comic, the comic in general, at least in our community, AVP Galaxy, they have been majority not positive.
Well, I mean, like I said, it is what it is. I like it. I thought it was good.
And again, I'm glad you like it. Like,
yeah, I know.
I really am glad you like it. And that's the thing. Like I've told you before we started recording, like, I don't like to keep like, even with the prequels, there's fans who love the prequels. I'm very mixed about them myself. I feel like there's some aspects about them that have grown on me, but it's like, I'm glad that people like the prequels that do, and I wish I could. And it's the same thing with this comic. Like, I'm glad the comic's done well, and I'm glad that it's finding it seems like a mainstream appeal kind of audience. And I've heard that it's done pretty well. I'm not sure the overall sales if they've declined issue with issue, but like, I want Marvel to succeed again with this. I'm not like, Disney, come on. And there's a lot of fans that do have that attitude. It's like, Disney doesn't get Alien and they're just going to keep screwing it up. And it's like, no, I always want to have hope that I'm going to find further stories that connect with me. Even though this particular one, the story was okay for me, but the art just kind of got in the way of it so much for me that it hurt with the enjoyment. But I do feel like the story, there were some things I was into. Like, there were some, and I hope I don't know if you were done giving your.
Oh, it's done. Yeah. I was going to, you're on the right track, my friend. Go ahead.
So, there were elements of the story that I thought played upon some interesting things in the franchise, themes we've seen before. Some that were done in a way that really intrigued me, and others that were kind of like, I don't really like that take. It just feels like there's not a lot of coordination right now that you would see with Star Wars, right? Like with Lucasfilm, you have a story group, right? And we've kind of touched on this topic a bit before. In Alien, I feel like there's lore that's connecting with the fans right now, and that seems to be the Alien RPG, and that seems to be a number of the books, in my opinion, and that seems to be even Fireteam Elite, like the new video game. It's sold really well. It's gone over very well with fans, and there's a ton of lore in there, a lot of which ties into the RPG, some of which ties into the other books. And this comic series feels a bit disconnected from that. Like, it definitely feels like this is very post-Fox, and the video game and the RPG feels like it was very much developed pre the merger, So I feel like there needs to be a bit more. Again, I like seeing alternate continuities. I like seeing alternate stories. I don't think every story needs to adhere to canon. And I love some of those older Dark Horse stories where they're just wacky and do their own thing, right? It's the same thing with the DC movies, right? You want to have a Robert Pattinson Batman that's not tied to the DCEU, just so you can tell a different story, a different take on the story. And I want that with Alien. So I don't want too strict of a continuity. But if you want something to be your main running series, I do feel it needs to tie into some of the other media a bit more. That's just kind of a thought I had concluding this issue.
Mm-hmm.
But this very much felt like it was its own thing, in my opinion. As far as the story, I think it's pretty conclusive that the next issue will probably focus on a new group of characters, which is something I was very much wondering about. But it also says at the end of the book, it says end of chapter 1. So you wonder what elements of this story are going to tie into the next arc. But I always kind of felt that it should be like Dark Horse has always done it, because that's kind of what fans expect, right? You have a story, it's a set number of issues. It's not superheroes, right? You're not going to follow Spider-Man for like 50 issues here, right? Like I feel like with Alien, it's much more lends itself to, okay, we're going to tell a story on this group of characters and it's going to focus on this event, and maybe we'll come back to them for another event, but it's not going to be this long, here's a day in the life of this person surviving aliens kind of thing, like you might see with superheroes. And I know superhero fans are probably like, that's not what our comics are like.
I mean, yes and no. Yes and no. You're not too far off. You're not too far off.
But so it will be interesting, regardless if it's the same creative team, to see where the next arc goes. But as far as this one goes, overall, it was very disappointing for me in terms of Marvel's first foray into Alien. This and even the offshoot they did, Aftermath, I think both were pretty disappointing, honestly. Aftermath, at least I could kind of get into the art a little bit more, which I'm very drawn to. Again, as a creative person, as a photographer, I do like looking at illustration. I do like admiring the art in comics. That's very fundamental to my enjoyment of a comic or not, as you've probably found out by now. But it's unfortunately been a disappointing run for me with Marvel and Alien so far. But again, I just hope they can find their footing, in my opinion. But I'm glad you like it. Like, that's nothing, not to take away from anyone's enjoyment. If you're liking the comic, like the comic. Don't let my dislike of the comic, drag on your opinion or anything. Like, Alien fans, it's a big universe. They disagree on a lot of things, and I'm sure you, as a Star Wars fan, Paul, can relate to that. Like,
yes.
There's some disagreement in big fandoms when you have big universes and stuff like that.
You touched on something I think that was really interesting, because I think a lot of, at least for me, I always bring up Star Wars as a great example, because it's kind of in the same vein of Alien, as far as, where they had to reboot the canon. And you have right now the books and the role-playing game, you said, and it sounds like Fireteam as well, the video game, are kind of it feels they're more cohesive, whereas this doesn't. And I'm curious, is because this also takes place way before those other things, I assume, correct?
I'm not quite sure. I believe this is actually close to the same time frame. I mean, the video game is about 20 odd years after Alien 3, and I believe the RPG is kind of also in that in between Aliens and Alien 3 timeline. And this would also appear to be the case as well with this, but I'm not really positive that I think it says. It says, there's actually a date in the comic itself.
Cool.
The year is now 2200. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then Aliens Fireteam Elite.
Because I got my impression was this is early on than all the other things, but maybe I'm way off.
Okay. So the comic takes place in the year 2200, and Fireteam Elite, if I can find it here.
Yeah, and
2202. So literally 2 years after this comic.
Oh, it's only okay. All right. Well,
close to the same time frame.
So, but this came out, but technically this was before Fireteam.
Yes. But Fireteam has been in development for quite some time, probably before this comic was. But Fireteam was delayed a number of times as well. So,
but also, and again, I'm just kind of throwing this out there because I go back to Star Wars, because a lot of problems I had was it felt like the comics were inconsequential to the story of the main storyline. And there's been very few, and again, you could argue a lot of different cases. I'll get down rabbit hole. You know me and rabbit holes. I don't want to get it too far down. But basically, long story short, comics have never been that detrimental to the overall canon, even in Star Wars. And I don't know if Alien's going to be any different. And the reason I say that also is the fact, and again, maybe before Dark Horse they were, I don't know. But I think in this, I also think this is going to be a very self-contained story. I don't think you're going to get to a point where this is going to affect the lore of
there
Alien.
was an aspect in this one in particular that did. And
Help me out.
One of my problems with it.
Well, what was it? Tell me.
So there's a moment where it kind of alludes to the prequels, and you see kind of a flashback of the Prometheus vases, and it talks about how the aliens are the cleansing fire for when a species gets too arrogant and advanced. And I'm like, this is my problem with the prequels, right? It's like don't explain the alien. Like, leave the alien, leave it mysterious. Like, you don't have to go into it too much. Yeah, you can kind of explore that a bit, but don't give us this is the grand purpose of the aliens. It's just not something I like seeing, because I feel like it takes away too much of the mystery, too much of the alien aspect of the alien, you know? And it was the whole Iris giving that speech about, I will say that the concept, again, we have another resistance group in this one. We find out that the androids are also a resistance group, which kind of ties into Alien Resurrection a little bit, because you find out about these androids creating other androids and free androids and stuff like that. So that concept was interesting. And the fact that she was, again, spoilers. If you're listening to this, you should have read the comic by now. We got to get into some spoilers.
All right.
Iris ends up being an android. And Gabriel Cruz is very surprised, because he's like, how could Danny have been having a relationship with you, but you have no idea? And this kind of ties into the original Aliens comic a little bit, because you have Newt in a relationship with an android, and she doesn't know he's an android.
Right.
So that aspect is kind of an interesting aspect to me. Like the dynamics between humans and androids, when you start getting into romance and stuff like that, like if a partner knows, if a partner doesn't know, like, it's just this weird, interesting thing in Alien that has been touched on a bit in the comics, I feel like, and there's more to be explored there. But she was just kind of using him, and that's terrible too. So
right. Well, and androids, you know, smart and emotional enough to use emotions against a human is really fascinating too, right? And I think you touched on something. You know, again, what I talked about earlier that I love about Alien. It's because it also extends itself to like the androids and the aliens themselves, again, about humanity, right? And like who are the monsters, right? I mean, who is it? Are the mindless creatures? Is it the androids that
just to interject, it was all a little different in the original comic as well, because the android that was having a relationship with her, he was not aware he was an android.
Right. So, I remember. Dude, Earth War is my jam. You know this. Besides, before Sam Keith came in. You know, before Sam Keith came in, I was all about that. Even the artist before that, I got over it because I love that stuff. That was a great. God, I love Earth War so much, or whatever that 3-part trilogy is. I love it.
It's pretty much called the Earth War trilogy.
Yeah. It's so good. That to me is the quintessential. It's a little aged, but it's good. You
should try. There was kind of a reboot arc that they did that was the 3 World War arc, and the Alien series of that was kind of post Earth War. And that one you might like. That one, it still feels kind of modern, but that was that was like the early 2010s kind of period of Dark Horse. But yeah, there were some interesting plot points here, as well as so the androids like fighting for their own freedom and independence. Again, I thought it was a little mustache twirly when she's like, we're going to create a post-organic utopia. I was like, that was never their goal. Like, come on. So
Adam, I love you, dude. This is why I love podcasts with you. I love it. You're just so earnest. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
But yeah, he also she tells him about, I don't know how she would know this, but she tells him about the mystery of the visions he's had of the Skeeger-esque lady, which is the art that depicts her in this is kind of weird. Like, I don't know where LaRocca referenced this, but she has like a python on her head. And I'm like, wait, what the hell?
Hold on. Let me find this. Yeah. There we go.
There is a snake on her head. Like, what is the deal with that? So
I love this.
That wasn't how she looked in the previous issues.
She doesn't need to look the same, Adam. God damn, it's a dream sequence. What do you expect?
There's a snake on her head. What is that doing?
That's cool. That's cool.
What? No. There's never been a snake on somebody's head in Alien. Like, unless it's supposed to actually be a headdress. I mean, maybe it is, but that's not how she looked before.
Adam, I want her to show up in Aliens Fire Elite or and
No.
that way you just be like, what the hell? You'd be like, I hate this game.
I mean, as a
Fireteam,
concept,
excuse
it's
me.
all right, and I know my friend Aaron likes that concept of the Sill looking
Aaron
Giger
likes it
woman.
too.
He likes the concept. He's not a fan of the art either in this
Well,
comic.
I didn't expect him to like the art either.
But yeah, and even the Alpha alien when he's fighting the Alpha on the exterior hull of the escape ship, it was,
Oh, I got that too.
just very static poses.
This is good. How
perspective issues? I mean, look at
Okay.
the wrench he's holding. That's
Oh,
wrong
come on. That's
perspective there.
that's
Like,
nitpicking. That's nitpicking. Okay, in all fairness here. Now, people, and everyone who's been watching these episodes, and everyone who's watched these episodes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I love debating with Adam. This is why I live for this stuff. I tell Adam all the time. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Bozo here actually unhooked his mic, and then all hell broke loose.
I got
Anyway,
you riled up.
Yeah, I got me all riled up. No, but what I was saying was, what I love about this is that we can have these discussions about like something like this. Now, the wrench, you can nitpick whatever. I'm not. I'm
The
sorry.
wrench is a small issue, but go to the next panel.
I don't know.
where
I don't have the next one. I don't have the next one. But
so the next panel, the Alpha is leaping at him, and it definitely is like action figure pose where like the arms are like this. It just looked like that. That looks like an action figure folded together. That does not.
How does it look like an action figure?
That is an action figure pose. The legs are folding up just like that would like that. To me, I'm not like that's not an alien leaping out to grab somebody. That's like an action figure. Just like I'm sorry, I've just seen a lot of alien art through the years, and I've seen like how artists can do alien movements and stuff, and to me that looks like a posed action figure. If that's not how it looks to you and you think that looks awesome, that's great, like, but to me it doesn't.
Wow, man, it's really crazy because Adam, I think this is I think this looks good. This is a good picture. I mean, I don't see how this is bad. And this picture where he's fighting, I don't see I don't know. I mean, I don't see the problem. I just don't see it. I don't see how this.
That's okay.
Because now you're
art is subjective.
Right. Here's what's beautiful about I think what we're dealing with here is because you've always said that Salvador the swipes and whatever. But he's not swiping from there or anything. You just don't like the fact that the alien doesn't look like.
I mean, I've found a lot of swiped stuff in the comic.
No.
I don't know if he is specifically there or not.
Yeah, I'm saying right there. I'm saying right there.
Right there. I don't know if he is or not, but I can still tell what it's referenced from. And I feel like reference is fine, but give it enough of your own spin that it's like, okay, this is some new art.
Design. It's a different alien design.
It is,
right?
But it's no, it is and it's not. Okay, it's his own head design put on the Hot Toys AVP Warrior is what it is.
Man! Oh god! This is great. I love this. I love this.
And they never explain the Alpha alien either. They're never like. And I was waiting for that too. I was like, "What's the deal with the Alpha alien?" But they never really.
But they're going to. That's the thing. Okay, so and also back to this really quick, and we'll wrap up because I love to keep these short for your time too, because you're so gracious with your time lately. But talking about how things are cohesive, and I really do think that this is going to be a very self-contained story. I don't think this is going to be one of those things that's going to affect the mythology. And again, the Alpha I think is cool. I hope that maybe they do, and I could be proven wrong. And if they do, if the Alpha ends up getting out and terrorizes New York or something like that, then I'll shut the hell up. But I don't think so, and that's why I think that this is probably going to be a more self-contained story than we probably think, and to where I'm not saying this is going to be kind of cheating a little bit, but it's gonna be one of those things where you don't have to reference it. It's kind of like when I guess I'm used to it mainly because. And you guys should be too a little bit because you have the prequel stuff with Prometheus and Alien Covenant.
That was pretty lore affecting though.
but no, right. But what I'm saying is when you jump around the timelines, you can't reference things that you don't know are coming, right? And granted, you're right. Like maybe Maybe Philip Kennedy Johnson didn't know and didn't know or didn't care. I don't know. Didn't know about what's going on with Fireteam Elite in the role playing game, or this story is so self-contained that like it doesn't matter what happens. In the role-playing
and that
game.
could very well be the case. And you don't need to reference everything when you do a new comic. So by saying that, I don't mean to be like it has to be that way. You know?
No, right. Well, I guess what I'm saying is I'd be curious because I think like Star Wars, Alien franchise source material, like comic books, are going to be one of those things where it's going to be fit itself between certain things, but it's not ever going to go up like, it's not going to be a major story point. Does that make sense? So it's never going to be like a movie or even a video game. I think those are going to be saved for those mediums.
Yeah.
And then, but see, here's the thing though. I want what you're saying, be more cohesive where the comics have a stake. And that's my criticism of Star Wars comics, that there's been very few that have like some oomph story-wise as far as some impact. So,
yeah, I mean, maybe there were a couple instances, I guess, that kind of tie into the wider lore. Like they mentioned the United Americas, which I guess that's always been kind of a thing in the Alien franchise anyway. But just to see that mentioned as like, oh, this is the Earth government at the time, is
right.
Is kind of tying it into it. But you can have the opposite problem too. Like the original Dark Horse comics, like aliens took over the Earth. So that was a pretty big lore affecting thing. And they kind of had to get rid of that because a director's like, well, I don't want to go there. So.
Yeah. But it's so funny because I'm the exact opposite of you. Again, that's why I think people like to listen to us bicker, is because I like a more finite canon. Because I want to be invested in every story, and I want to be all like how I said, I want them all to have the same impact. And I love the fact I like the ideas of the movies and the books and the role playing games. They all are more, at least to an extent. Nothing's going to be perfect, right? But I don't want to have like singular canons everywhere. Even like Star Wars Legends, if they, I think eventually they'll do a Star Wars Legends like line of like stories that won't reflect. They're doing that now with Star Wars Visions of the new anime that's coming out next week, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, that's supposed to be like completely non-canon.
Well, yes and no. Again, rabbit hole. Don't want to go down that road, but it's I basically yes, but I also think that if it's popular enough, they'll make it canon. If that makes sense. So, I do think I like the idea. I like different pockets maybe where it's like it's few and far between, but at least for me, I'm curious what you would think. Would you want, again, I'm assuming aliens will have a pocket thing where, like you're saying, but would you want it to be like the Pattinson like DC Comics where it's like every year you're getting like 3 different canons or different they're not.
I don't know if I would want it to be that quick to switch. Now I don't feel the big thing for us was Alien 5, right? Because that would have broken movie canon. That would have been like, okay, now we have an alternate continuity like the Terminator films have done, where these other films didn't happen. And maybe it's easier to get away with that in Terminator because you have all the timelines and stuff. But
that's
with
true,
this one, Alien 5, it would have just been like, okay, this is a alternate Alien 3. And Neil Blomkamp very much said, I'm not trying to undo Alien 3 or Resurrection here. I'm just telling a different story of where I wanted this to go. So I don't feel like it always has to be like this, I don't want this to be broken because I like Alien 3. It's like Alien 3 is still there. Alien 3 is still canon. It could just be an alternate canon. And so I don't mind there being these alternate continuities. I feel like at some point a franchise just gets so convoluted that just like I said with the DC movies, like you get your movies like Joker and the Robert Pattinson Batman movie that are their own thing. And you also have the DCEU. And who knows, maybe that'll be rebooted eventually or what have you. So I feel like I like things to be cohesive and I like things to reference each other, but it's also easy to overdo that. Where you don't have a lot of uniqueness and you don't have a lot of creative freedom to explore different stories and different takes on things as well. So I do feel like there's some stories to just go off and do something completely wild and completely different. And there's others that should feel more core and central and reference to other things. So I do feel like it's very much a balance. And with Alien, I'm kind of the, at this point, it's like what I like is my headcanon, you know? There's stories that I like to incorporate and there's stories that I like to discard. So
this being one of them.
This being one of them. Yes.
Yeah. No, I think it's great.
Or at least elements of it.
No, it sounds like, again, and as we wrap up here, Adam, it sounds like your problems are mostly with the art directions.
That's
more than
the most significant issue. The story to me was just kind of okay. I was hoping it would kind of like it had me intrigued for a bit. And maybe he'll maybe with subsequent arcs he'll build upon what he had me intrigued with, and the story will go in interesting directions. I don't know. Like I'm still going to read these comics and go in with an open mind, regardless of how I felt about this one. But I do. Yes, the art was the primary issue for me. That was the biggest issue. I am far from the only one I've heard in the fandom that has that issue.
I'm aware. I'm aware.
Like LaRocca, like go for it. You know, there's a reason he still has work. So some people must like him. But
I like Greg Land too. I know people, you know, what he does for reference is not always
though. I mean, like, or if it's not, it's pushing it.
Well, he again, and to be fair, I have not researched a ton of Greg Land stuff. I do know what he references in certain females. I didn't realize that until someone pointed it out to me. I was like, oh my God. And, but at the same time, I'm reading Symbiote Spider-Man by Peter David, and it's amazing. And dude, I'm telling you, I've ranted and raved about this. Get Greg Land on a Black Knight comic book. Get him on a writer that's like solid. That book's going to sell like hotcakes because he draws an amazing Black Knight.
Don't like seeing female O faces used on superheroes every other panel.
Dude, and that is not every other panel. That's
plenty of them.
Anyway, I have not noticed that as much.
I like even less than LaRocca. That was actually a big controversy in the fandom, and because that was what kind of got fans. Everything was looking good with Marvel, and I still think their first omnibus release, great. Like other than this cover issue, of course, the cover issue was a big controversy because fans had built up so much respect for Tristan Jones as an artist. He had become one of the most admired alien artists. And so we were all just pissed, like, just hire this guy. Like, he's probably cheaper than Land. Like, I don't know his rates. True. I don't know Land's rates, but it's like,
I didn't know. Yeah, I forgot Land had totally, and I remember seeing that controversy online myself, or through the alien community, actually, through you guys' message boards and because I follow all you guys on Facebook, obviously, and Twitter. So I did see those a lot, and I was like, oh man, you know. But at the same time, great. Again, I'm reading Symbiote Spider-Man, and he draws some amazing characters, man. Like, again, I'm not maybe referencing everybody, and like
because of my anger with that, I've only kind of seen the worst examples of his work, so it's not fair,
and that's but you bring up a great point, and this is why it's good. I think it's good for fandoms to see two sides of different personalities or different ideas of like, hey, you have no respect for Greg Land. I don't respect him stealing, swiping, but I will acknowledge Duke can draw the hell out of things. You know, it doesn't
trace the hell out of things.
Well, I mean, you could. He may trace. See, I take umbrage over not all people, not all photorealistic things, because I'm sorry. I think there's more to comic books than just tracing. It's true, you know, and you know that, and I've argued that, and I've said, listen, you can use photo references all day long, but if you can't tell a story right, then there's no point. You could draw faces great all day. I'll take an artist that can I'll always say this: give me an artist that's okay, has a solid artist but a great storyteller. I'll take that in comic books above a Jim Lee, but can't tell a story. I mean, Jim Lee can tell a story.
For me, it's a total equal balancing act. I've seen pretty good alien stories with bad art. I have seen terrible alien stories with pretty good art. So I feel like where you get the strongest comic is when both are solid, for sure.
Well, yeah. That, in a perfect world, but that to me is that's a problem in comics in general. It's a whole different conversation, by the way, because it's actually a big deal for me, because I feel right now in comic books, and I don't know I'm not an artist. I can't draw a straight line, so make this very clear. But the problem in comic books right now is that there's a lack of talent, I think, overall. Like, and I say talent, I mean like A+ Jim Lee, like 90s stuff. Like, as far as like those guys just are just ripping it. And McFarlane's, Eric Larson's, there's not a lot of, and they were late, a lot of them, but not hitting. A lot of people can't hit their deadlines, and it's few and far between. And it feels like there's a lack of artists that can actually draw like on a monthly basis and actually draw comics, not just, I'm a cover artist or I'm a this artist. I want comic artists. And it's just weird that, like you said, like when you can do both, the problem is I feel like a lot of artists can only do one or the other.
And that's where I think Dark Horse had a strength, is because I don't think they ever had, I mean, maybe for a while they did, maybe with their old initial comics, but in their later years, they would have a run. And the run was typically 4 to 5 issues. There was not like a monthly Alien comic always happening. It's like, oh, we're going to do this story, then we're going to wait a bit, we're going to do this story. So it felt like they took more time to develop that, and maybe that's why we got some really strong art, I feel like, with the Dark Horse stuff. But we've had some Alien comics that have knocked it out of the park completely on both fronts. And so as someone who is not super familiar with Marvel coming into that world now, it's like, I expected them, like, guys, you're Marvel. You're so much bigger than Dark Horse. Like, you should be taking off and running with this thing. So for them, I get, like, it's a totally new thing for them. Like, right, this is an R-rated franchise, and I don't think that was an issue with this comic at all. The comic felt mature and adult. There were a couple, like I told you, with the gore stuff where it was like, come on, you're just trying to be edgy now to show that you can do this. But I do feel that I'm hoping to see more dynamic stories from Marvel in terms of the art, and in terms of not them just having a core running Alien series, but trying a number of different stories and a number of different creative teams, because you're at least going to have enough variety there where something will connect with different fans,
Yeah, for sure. No, and like I said, this is again, I love the fact that I live for these conversations. I really do. I love talking about the stuff and just discussing and disagreeing, but also explaining why we disagree and why, and this is stuff that it helps me understand your perspective and vice versa. Right. So, I love this. So wrapping it up here again, Adam, thank you so much for coming on. Again,
sorry, I feel like I was kind of soapboxing on this one.
Oh, no.
Like,
This
again, like,
I want you soapboxing.
I'm glad you enjoyed the first Marvel Alien comic. Like,
yeah, I liked it.
You gotten,
I didn't love it. I liked it.
You liked it? So, okay.
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it. I liked it. I really liked the last issue, though. I did like the last issue a lot. I will say that. That's one of I think it's the strongest issue from a theme perspective, and I think a written perspective. I think that I think Philip Kennedy Johnson's a good writer. I think he's a great writer, and he's done some good, and he's killing it on Superman. I hear, and I need to read it, and it's good. I need to read more of his stuff, period. But yeah, no, I think this is great. Again, we're not going to be doing an issue by issue review for going on forward. Adam will be, coming on when he can. It won't be every month. So, but I'll get him on when I can. Adam's awesome. He's been very gracious with his time.
And sorry, I've been so negative on these comic listeners again. I want your opinion. I want you to like what you like. So if you like this comic, more power to you.
I think everyone who's watched this so far understands and appreciates your honesty. And I think one of your traits, you underestimate yourself maybe, or don't think much of yourself. I don't know. I just know you super well, but I'm going to say is that you come across very well and not as negative as you seem. Because you're not.
Well, that's good.
No, and when I say that is because you don't come across like you're just being mean to be mean. You're being honest, and it's very heartfelt because you care about the product and you're explaining why, and you're not like, like me, like I thought what I'd be doing.
I am one. I can express anger and frustration and disappointment, but I'm not one to, flip the table and be like, this is
Exactly.
shit. Like I want to give constructive criticism, even if I am frustrated. It's because like I do love this franchise and I always will, and I want it to succeed. And so if something doesn't connect with me, or if I feel like there's an issue here, I just want to express that. Hey, it's my perspective. You can disagree. Feel free to disagree. Anyone who does.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much how I take it. But it sounds like when you were like, this issue ended really strong, it seems like we're kind of judging this different ways too. It seems like you're very used to judging issue by issue with comics, whereas I'm very used to judging the
whole story,
because that's how, like I told you when we started this thing, that's how I typically have read them, is in graphic novel form. That's what got me into comics initially. And so I very much judge it as issues 1 through 6. I judge it as the paperback. As opposed to the single issues.
Well, I do the same thing too, but I think for me is, when you're doing a 6-part story, it's easier for me to gravitate towards certain issues. Again, I didn't love the series, I liked it, but I really liked the last issue. It'd be interesting when we do eventually the next arc. If maybe you don't read. Again, you do what you want, but you try not to read it and just read it and then review it with us. That'd be fun. If you can,
I can probably hold off this time.
All right. Yeah.
I'm not exactly in a rush to read it. I'll buy it for the variant still, but
there you go. No, but Adam, thank you for coming on. Like I said, I'm hoping to get you on a couple more times. Obviously we have a thing we've been talking about before. I won't reveal it yet because I went a little bit of a surprise, but we got that. I'm hoping to at least get you on for Predator 2 when that eventually comes out. We won't have to do it right away, but we just do the first issue of that, or a couple issues. Maybe we'll do that or something like that.
No, I'll definitely be excited when that launches. That I'm interested in what that creative team for that comic can do when that drops. So we'll have to see when that is.
No, but thank you so much. And again, like he'll be still coming out here or there, but the monthly issues are reviews. We'll be stopping here, but it's a good time to stop. To be honest, I feel this is a good kind of stopping point for this, and it kind of helped this whole my whole segment of episodes of Sci Fi Comic Book Focus. It's been perfect. So again, thank you so much for helping me launch this. And Adam, you've been awesome. And where can people find you and follow you and support your awesome efforts, my friend?
Well, again, thanks for having me. It's been, even though we've had disagreement in terms of our opinion on the comic, that's what makes it interesting. If we all agreed on everything, it wouldn't be super interesting. But
it would not.
If you want to follow me personally, it's at Ridgetop21 on both Instagram and Twitter. I am with AVP Galaxy, or Alien vs. Predator Galaxy. We are one of the oldest and longest running Alien and Predator fan sites. You can find our website at avpgalaxy.net. We're on all the major socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. If you search AVP Galaxy or Alien vs. Predator Galaxy, you're sure to find us.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Herman22 with 2 N's, aka P Thug, as you see down there, and also follow the Comic Binge on Twitter at Binge Comic. We're also on TikTok, also on Instagram, but I think that's the underscore Comic Binge. I'll just find Comic Binge. You'll see the logo. You'll find it. I'm too lazy to look at it right now. But no, please like and subscribe to the videos. I appreciate everyone who says any remote thing, even constructive criticism. I appreciate it. So again, I appreciate everyone who just takes their time out and watch the videos and hit like, all that stuff, whatever. I appreciate it all. Again, thank you for watching, and as always, read